I've successfully, or at least twice, I've successfully disputed the property appraisal and had my property taxes lowered. So I've been through the process and I want to share what I've learned. One, you got to understand that you're going to get a little card in the mail. They typically go out before January 15th. When it shows up in the mail, you only have 30 days to go to the muni.org, go to forms and applications, and go down to real property appeal form. You need to fill out that appeal form and get it in within 30 days of you receiving your notice in the mail. Now, you don't need to have your comps at that time. Once it's filed and they receive it and they'll send you notice, you have another 15 days to get your comparables. So get your application done, fill it out, fill out your property information, leave it blank where it says comps for now, just get it filed so you get your foot in the door. Then work with a real estate professional to provide comps and get information that you need in order to dispute the value. But here's the thing, unlike a real estate appraisal or unlike a CMA, where we typically just use closed comps, like appraisal if you're selling a house or buying a house, you realize they only used closed comps. Why? Because closed properties are what a willing buyer and a willing seller agreed to. See, active properties are considered rejected by the market until they sell. If active properties dictated what a property was worth, then all my neighbor would have to do is list his house for $5 million, and obviously mine's worth 4.2, right? No, that's not how that works. They use closed sales. But on property tax appraisal disputes, I have been very successful in using active comps in showing that other similar properties like mine have been languishing on the market without sales, and therefore it's lower. So I use a combination of both, typically a couple good sold comps. I usually try to supply it with active, but they typically only want 3. Your best bet is closed sales, right? That is your best dispute that you could have. So get that filed, get that information in. There is a fee and it's graduated. It starts off at $99, $100, $500, $1,000, depending on the price of your property. You know, once you go over $2 million, it's $1,000. Once you do file your paperwork, expect them to do a site visit. That means they'll be coming out to the property and just taking a look around and verifying the information that you've provided them is correct. If you have things that are detrimental to the property, make sure you point it out. You know, whether you got low-hanging power lines or, you know, got erosion issues or whatever that is, you know, unlike an appraiser where you're trying to make your property look as awesome as possible, to the property assessor, you want to be pointing out all these horrible things. So, you know, and so you can say, hey, take these into consideration in order to lower my value. I'm just trying to tell you that I try to avoid going to the Board of Equalization Appeals where you get a hearing. Just understand this, that you have to have your comps on. You cannot show up at the hearing. If you get a hearing date and you got to go through, if they don't do a desktop and you need to get a hearing in order to have your taxes lowered, they won't allow any other information than what you provided them during your application period. No further data. So if something else closed or you've got something new and you like hot off the press, I've got new, no, they won't listen to it. So it's really important during that initial time that you get your information in. Anyway, what I suggest that you do is you reach out, you find a real estate professional if you're not one yourself, and use comps. You can't use Zillow, don't use that stuff. Use good sales data, you know, to show what the valuation is. But therein is the rub, isn't it? Because we're supposed to be a non-reporting state. So being that we're a non-reporting state, that's supposed to mean all sales are confidential, but then the tax assessor says, I won't lower your taxes unless you tell me the confidential information regarding other people's sales. So I think the municipality of Anchorage is in direct conflict with state law because they're demanding that real estate professionals in the industry reveal sales while we're in a state that is a non-reporting state. That seems like a direct violation of our state law. So I think your municipality is in violation of that state law by requiring people to provide confidential information. Waiting for somebody to sue them over that. But anyway, in the meantime, here's my get on property taxes, right? Property taxes are the most unfair tax you could ever have. We all know that property owners and investors don't pay the property taxes. It goes downhill. So property taxes affect the disenfranchised, that people can't afford real estate and people are renting harder than anybody else, right? Because that cost just gets squeezed down. So one, if you're into equity and you're into, diversity and inclusion, property taxes hurt the people who have been disenfranchised or who are income limited the hardest. Two, it's not based on your earnings. Your income can go down. You can have issues. You can have all kinds of problems. You can lose your job. And if you own a house, your property taxes can go up, but not because of anything that you've done, because of what some guy down the street may have sold his house for. It's not like you made money on that sale. You didn't do anything. Heck, you may be barely keeping your lights on, but they want more money out of you, not because you make more money, because some guy down the street made more money. BS. And then finally, it's like a forever sales tax. You work, you bust your ass, you pay taxes, you pay income taxes, and depending on where you live, well, if you go to Wasilla and you buy stuff, you may even pay some sort of sales tax. Well, you pay gas tax, right? 10 cents a gallon every time you drive your truck around. Put those supplies in your truck, you go home, you add on to your house, and then they say, well, you made your house nicer, so you owe us more money for that. Well, it's like a forever sales tax. It's a sales tax that doesn't ever go away. So, but that's why the municipality of Anchorage is having conversations about this, because they're starting to realize that property taxes, primarily for all the reasons I just stated, are maybe not the best way for us to accumulate. I know we pay a lot in taxes, but understand that property taxes is really the main form of income for the municipality that's not designated. Your gas tax, the hotel tax, marijuana tax, alcohol tax, all these things, those are all earmarked for very specific programs or specific items. Some of that stuff goes towards public safety officers. Some of those things go towards helping fund alcohol treatment and things like that. Your alcohol tax, that money is specifically earmarked for basically what I'd say if I had to simplify it, to offset the negative effects of alcohol, right? And so understand that not all the money that comes in is like it just goes into a big vat where they Scrooge McDuck it. A lot of these things are earmarked. But property taxes overall are the more we get the general sum of our general fund that then can be allocated. Anyway, if you want to know more about property taxes, if you have a question, there's anything I can do, give me a hand. I found the tax assessors to be very helpful. Rarely do you run into somebody. There's different departments, believe me, not all departments are easy to deal with. But the property tax assessor's office, I think they've built some emotional calluses because they deal with a lot of angry homeowners, but they seem to be really nice, and they work with you on stuff like, here's what I got going, this is what you got to do. And so, yeah, they're very helpful if you need it. Anyway, I'm Kevin Cross, Real Estate Brokers of Alaska. It's been a good one. If you have comments or you have thoughts or if you have something, share it below, because I want to learn, right? I don't know it all. I only know from my experience. I'm happy to share my experience, but I want to know what you've been through and what you found works. All right, you guys, take care.